They're trying to look out for the knockout here in this first half.
Obviously, lead's safe. Both teams are going to continue to fight to the buzzer.
A 20-point fourth quarter for Karl Anthony Towns.
He hit some threes, got to the rim, played great down the stretch.
They were down 2-0, but go on the road down by 20 and win coming from behind.
This is a great team win, but we got to be better than we were tonight if we expect to find a way to get another win.
There's no two ways about it. It's been a weird postseason with all of these enormous comebacks. Knicks come from 20 down last night to beat Indiana. They remain, however, the Pacers do, the favorites in this series. Indiana minus 200. The Knicks are plus 170. Game 4 tomorrow night. The Pacers are 2.5-point favorites going into that game. And so I will ask this question for those of you just getting up and joining us. Alan Hahn, Jay Will, who was at the game last night, and the Morris twins, Morris and Markieff. I'll start with you. Who's in control? Where does the series stand right now? If I said to you, where are we in this series right now, one in which a home team has yet to win a game, what would you say?
I would still lean towards Indiana. They still have home court advantage. They were up 20 in this game. Let's not forget about that. We needed a great performance, not even just a great performance by Cat Towns. We needed a superstar performance, and he delivered that. So there are a few things that I think that the Knicks will try to pinpoint to be better, but Indiana controlled this game from top to bottom into the last, let's say, 8 minutes.
Do the Pacers still feel in control of the series to you?
I think so. Like Marcus said, being up 20 in any game in the playoffs at home, I feel like you have that advantage. You found something to get it done, right? The fourth quarter was a lot different. Obviously, they played different guys. Cat had a monster fourth quarter. So I think so with the home court advantage. And look, home court advantage in the playoffs means something. I mean, obviously being up 20 and letting the rope go. I know Indiana feels the type of way, but you have to find some positives in that game.
Let me just get into that really quickly for 1 second. You're still playing. You were in the league so recently. Like home court advantage in this postseason, it feels like, not just in this series where the home teams are 0-3, but just in general, feels like it means almost nothing. The Knicks are, what did we say? They're 6-1 now on the road in the playoffs. So when we say they still have home court advantage, does that still mean something?
In hindsight, yes. But this year and a few years now, we had this conversation yesterday. It's no great teams anymore, right? Like anything can happen in these playoffs. As you've seen, the Boston Celtics were the best team, right? Like they were the greatest team. They were up 20 twice and lost those leads. So as of now, anything can happen, Greeny. I'm not sold on any team in this playoffs.
Jay Will, the Pacers are a 2.5-point favorite in Game 4. In your opinion, which team has more pressure to win tomorrow night's Game 4?
I think the Knicks do. I mean, look, this is the Pacers team that has lost Game 3 of the last 2 series. They did it against the Bucks and they did it against the Cavs, right? So this is familiar territory for them. And also, look, the Knicks have gone through 3 grueling series, this being their 3rd. Obviously, Detroit was very physical. Boston was a mentally taxing series. And now to enter this with Jalen Brunson being in foul trouble, him being hunted, Cat having the big impact game. I think all the pressure is on the Knicks. You can't afford to go back to MSG, a place in which you're 3-5, being down 3-1.
There's no question that you have to keep winning games here because they have to make up for both games at home. You could say that this win was sort of the one that got Game 1 back because it was a similar situation. The Knicks had the big lead, blew it, lost the game. And the Pacers had the big lead, blew it, lost the game. So you could say, okay, you've made up for that Game 1, but you still got to get another one to bring it back, and then you have back control of the series. The Knicks have kind of gone through a transformation in this series. They went from the team that came into it thinking this is how we play, and the Pacers showed them you shouldn't play like that because we have an answer for everything. They have been transforming, and so we have to see now if this latest, what they did in the second half of Game 3, works now for the rest of the series, especially in Game 4.
And there was an interesting observation that Charles Barkley made last night after the game. The Knicks they made their run last night with Karl Anthony Towns going, as you said, out of his mind in the fourth quarter, and Jalen Brunson, for the most part, on the bench with foul trouble. And here were what Charles Barkley had to say after the game.
I'm hoping this is a wake-up call for Brunson. Like, yo, man, you're going to have to get off the ball. They've had their 2 best spurts in this series, Game 1 and today. They've had their best while everybody's getting involved. He has to learn from that and get off the ball a little bit more.
That's an interesting observation for a guy in Jalen Brunson who was second-team All-NBA this year and is has been so beloved, certainly here. And so what, Jay Will, I mean, as a guy whose job it was to have the ball in your hands, what do you make of that from Chuck?
I mean, you can ask the guys on set. I mean, look, I'm not taking Jalen Brunson and putting him off the ball. I mean, the guy is dynamic, and where he's been brilliant is being on the ball and controlling the pace of the game. I definitely like having Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet and spelling him minutes, but I like the way Jalen Brunson has been playing. You know, also something else that Greeny nobody's really talked about yet is that Aaron Naismith hurt his ankle in the end of that third quarter. That was a huge momentum swing. There's a quick turnaround for him with 48 hours to get back on the court, but he is their defensive stopper. Will he be available to go in game 4 is going to be a critical question for how Indiana likes to play, not just pace-wise, but also defensively. Not only did he make huge threes in game 1, but defensively, he's been the guy guarding Jalen Brunson each and every possession.
So is Jalen Brunson a liability in this series? Is obviously a huge, that's a very, very strong way to put what is a more nuanced point, which is Jalen Brunson playing with the ball in his hands at all times. And he tends to dribble the shot clock down, sort of probe, right, find a spot, make a play. And so what Charles is suggesting is that maybe if the ball is flowing a little bit more.
I think Charles is missing the point. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. What he's missing is that when the runs happen with Brunson off the court, that should be more a sign that Tom Thibodeau needs to start trusting the bench more and giving guys off the bench more, because the Pacers have played a lot of guys off the bench, because Jalen Brunson, last I checked, in the first 2 games has scored the most points of any player in a conference final since LeBron James in 2009. He is getting his offense, he's getting to his spots, and he is scoring. The problem is when you don't play enough bench guys, he wears down, some other players wears down. But you need to get production off your bench. You need to get defense off your bench. And that's what you're learning when he is on the bench, is that you're getting guys coming in and making a difference. They got to lean on them more.
Well, how about that idea? The idea that perhaps when the ball, that's what Charles Barkley is saying, to be clear, is that when the ball is moving and everyone gets a little more involved, the Knicks are one of those teams, and there's certainly, feels like half the NBA does this, where they play ISO, they have one guy who's just going to try and make his play, draw the defense, and then either make the right pass or make the shot. He's suggesting that maybe if the ball is moving a little bit more, it benefits the Knicks offensively. It looked like it did last night.
I mean, to Chuck's point, I get what he's saying. As a team, they went on runs with Jalen Brunson on the bench, right? The pace kind of picked up. But it doesn't make sense. Jalen Brunson has been in this position. He's the reason why they even in the conference finals, right? And also, these guys have been playing together. He knows when he needs to get off the ball. Jalen Brunson's a really smart player, really educated player. The 5 guys around him, they all get their shots. Let's just talk about Cat. I don't think this had anything to do with Jalen Brunson. Cat had a dominant performance in the fourth quarter, and he had to do it with Jalen Brunson on the bench. But Jalen Brunson is a plus for the Knicks at any time. I don't think he holds the ball too much. I think they need him to be super aggressive to even stay in half of these games.
Yeah, and clearly, Jalen Brunson is the most important player on the team by a wide margin. The question is whether there were certain things around the margins that they're able to figure out. Let me mention that we got game 4 of what is all of a sudden a series in the West tonight. You got SGA and the Thunder. You got Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. What a blowout that was on Saturday night. We got the action 8:30 Eastern. ESPN2 will have the Insight Cast with avatar shot charts, virtual 3D replays, and immersive analysis. Countdown Crew tips off our coverage at 7:30. Fill in the blank. The Celtics championship window is what?
Greeny is still open as long as they have Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. Now, look, I think next year is going to be a gap year for Jason Tatum coming off that Achilles injury, but I don't think anybody can realistically say, with the way the East is currently constructed as of right now, we don't know where the Giannis whole destination is going to land. But if you have a healthy Jason Tatum and a Jalen Brown, you will be in contention.
Yeah, let's pick that up for a minute. There's sometimes we talk about teams having little iterations of themselves. This specific iteration of the Celtics that had this group around those two, it may be done for them because Tatum will be gone there for the next season, and there's enormous financial ramifications of their current salary stuff. But in the long run, do you believe we will see Tatum and Brown back together again on the biggest stage?
For sure. They've won it at the highest level. I think with the way the salary cap is set up, I think you have to move players to give yourself some flexibility to be able to receive players. This is a younger league. Teams are going younger. They have some guys that have really high salaries. 34 and 35 with Drew Holiday, and Porzingis has not been able to stay healthy. So if I'm them, I for sure move those guys. I keep my two catalysts with JT and JB, and we move forward.
Will they be back? Will we see those two guys back in an NBA Finals again together?
No question. No question. Big fan of that tandem, but also Brad Stevens does a great job of identifying the guys that fit the system. I've always talked about system players and the way you build a team. I played for Brad Stevens, really bright coach. I think that they definitely figure out a way to get the same guys, get some other veterans, kind of shed some of that money that they have, and get some pieces. I know Al Horford probably will retire this year. Even if he doesn't, I still think they identify the right guys to get around those.
Like, what if they do what the Warriors did? Remember, after KD and everything like that, they had like a gap year where you're just bad, but you're okay with it, maybe even get a lottery pick, and then just rebuild and reset 2 years later once you get out of the repeater tax. I mean, they certainly can do that because just like the Warriors had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, you have two players that are generational players that you can build around. So this is not closed, but just maybe for the next year.
Yeah, also, Alan, to piggyback off that, Golden State had a year where Steph was hurt, where Draymond didn't play. You have JT that's not going to be able to play a lot of next year,
Brown
at all. And you just have
surgery.
Brown. So you know, that might not be a bad idea to just, scratch a year, move some pieces around and get ready for the following.
Let's talk about that team, actually, then, Markieff. The next one is for you to fill in the blank. Next season, Giannis Antetokounmpo will play for whom?
We talked about this earlier. And, Greeny, I think the way that the playoffs plays out, it will be where the place he will go. You have an OKC team that's just about right there getting over the hump. They have the MVP, they have the pieces. You can blow the whole thing up in Milwaukee and just take a boatload of their pieces that they got for Paul George, or take a boatload of their pieces they've got from all over the NBA and basically start over. And you match up Giannis with SGA and come on, man.
But how about the Warriors?
What's the
fun one? The fun one was the one you gave us in the meeting.
Okay, let's talk about that. I said the Warriors. You have Jonathan Kuminga, who's due for a big payday. You can think back to the Warriors when they had KD, Steph, Klay, and Draymond all on the same team. This is something that's intriguing because you obviously can give Kuminga the max, trade him to Milwaukee, and just move some pieces around that makes it fit.
I mean,
you got to go for it.
That's $50 million in salary you're adding there.
Yeah, but if you give Jonathan Kuminga 35 and put some pieces around that, it sounds way more intriguing.
It feels unfair,
it does.
But if any franchise would do it and pay the money, it seems like Golden State would be there.
They did it with KD. Window too. I think Steph's window is small, right? Like you have to maximize his window, right?
And Giannis needs to go to a situation like that, right? Like he needs to go. Yeah, that's a big market. That's a marquee team. He needs to go to a stage like that to maximize the rest of his career.
Jay, Will, one quick comment on Giannis to the Warriors. What do you think?
All right, I mean, just think about basketball, right? Like Marcus and Markieff, like from a basketball perspective, like think about how complementary Steph Curry and Giannis would be together. Somebody that can get rebounds, push it down position, attack the rim. There's always floor spacing. Those two in pick and rolls, like, come on, man. Like that to me just seems like the most powerful duo that could maybe be in the league. When you think about it, if those two are paired together.
I'm on fire. It's NBA,